If you live in a place where winters are cold and snowy, you're probably not thinking much about gardening right now. But on a brisk January day at Jake's Branch County Park in Beachwood, New Jersey, some gardening enthusiasts learn how to jumpstart their plants at an informative workshop on winter sowing, sponsored by the Jersey Shore chapter of the Native Plant Society of New Jersey.
Anybody who wants to play with soil in January really loves plants and wants to grow them.
Hello, I'm Sandra Levine, host of Still Time for Joy. Ellen Silverman, a member of both the Native Plant Society and the Rutgers Master Gardeners of Ocean County, led the group on the do's and don'ts of winter sowing.
Why would anyone want to do winter sowing?
It's an easy, affordable way of creating new plants for your garden, and especially native plants, which we very much need. The plants that we planted today were primarily collected from this area, which makes them very adaptable to our region because that's where they grew up.
These seeds need to undergo a process called cold stratification to bring them out of dormancy, so putting them outside in the containers gives them the cold they need while also protecting them from birds and other wildlife eating them and squirrels disturbing the seeds when they bury food they found.
We have a better chance of getting more seeds to germinate and grow up to become plants than they would if we direct sow them into the garden. The advantage also is that you can grow several of that type of seed in one place and then decide where they will go in your garden.
Here are the steps for winter sowing. Gather empty plastic milk and water jugs or large salad containers and put drainage holes in the bottom. Cut the jug most of the way around, leaving one side intact that will serve as a hinge. Fill the container with a few inches of soil so the plants have room for their roots as they grow. Then comes the hard part, deciding what to plant. At this workshop, Silverman had laid out dozens of packets of mostly native seeds, from black-eyed Susans to milkweed for butterflies.
Our native plants support so many insects, and those insects support the rest of the whole food cycle for our wildlife. Without our native plants, we lose that biodiversity.
Before adding the seeds, it's important to label the container so months later you'll be sure what's grown inside. Next, sprinkle seeds on top of the damp soil. You don't need to cover them, as in nature they would be randomly dispersed and land on top of the ground. Tape the jug closed and discard the lid. And finally, put your jug outside in a shady spot for the winter, like under a tree, and then wait for the magic to happen.
So say, what is it, in March or April? Like when am I going to go outside and see my container full of seedlings?
All of that depends on nature and what the winter has brought to you. Sometimes you get that early, sometimes you get it late. But the emergence of seedlings don't feel suddenly that you have to bring them in if you get a cold snap, because they're fine. They know what they're doing. Just trust the process. The whole idea of putting a seed in a frigid soil and putting it outside in the elements can be too much for many people, but you have to have faith. Seed in nature knows how to take care of themselves.
So how exciting is that when you come outside and you look in your jug and it has stuff growing in it?
Well, how exciting is it when you see a miracle? And that's what a seed emergence is.
In the spring, once the seeds have become seedlings, it's time to separate them and move them into pots or plant them in the ground. You'll have tons of little plants that will grow and beautify your yard at a fraction of the cost of purchasing seedlings at the store. Good for Mother Earth and good for the gardener.
In a time that is very changeable and a lot of negative things are present, especially if you read the paper, the garden is the thing that says, grow with us and be of the positive change that we need. Gardens, and it's gardens with an abundance of life like a native plant one, helps humans as much as the human that grew it.
For Still Time for Joy, I'm Sandra Levine. If you found today's show helpful, please share the information with someone who needs it and follow Still Time for Joy for more practical tips on weathering life's storms, as well as inspiring stories of people who have turned their pain into purpose. Please consider supporting the work that goes into producing the show on Patreon. Follow Sandra Levine Productions on Facebook and YouTube, and learn more at sandralevine.com.